We're breaking down the Philadelphia Eagles, but the music is still playing. All right, welcome into Around the Felt. I'm your host, Reagan Losher, here with my co-host, Colin Tong. And we're breaking down the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles. Saw a lot of people posting those Super Bowl rings. Shout out to friend of the show, Evan Anderson, getting his Super Bowl ring today. Pretty cool to see those photos and stuff. But Colin, what's up? What's up? You excited to talk about the Eagles?
Anytime you ask someone, are you excited to talk about your least favorite football team, not even football team on planet Earth? The answer is probably no. But you know what I have to do today? I have to swallow my pride and say some good things about a damn good football team.
Really damn good football team with a really damn good quarterback.
Yeah, Jaylen Hurts. Well, you want to start us off, Reagan? What do you got? What's your record since you were such a homer for the Eagles during their Super Bowl run last year? What do you got, Jaylen Hurts and your boys?
I was a homer, you know what? And that's okay because it ended up working out all right, huh?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say it worked out pretty good being a homer?
Well, you did get a second try when we got to the postseason because preseason you had the Jets winning it all. They never got there, so you couldn't take them. But
I did have them beating the Eagles, though.
You did have them beating the Eagles, so you did have the Eagles getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I wanted to be. I would have totally picked the Eagles, but come on. I mean, if I'm a fan of a team, you gotta give them some love still.
That sucks because you would have had a Super Bowl winner, which would have been really, really nice. Nice little gem to put on your belt. You know what I mean? But you don't have that because you were a homer for the Jets before you were a homer for Philadelphia. But hey, Reagan, we're not talking about 2024. We're talking about 2025. How do you think these Eagles are going to do?
I actually have them being the 1 seed in the NFC. I have them going 13-4. I think they're going to steamroll again in the regular season. I honestly have no doubts in my mind. I mean, obviously they've had some key losses. That is for sure, but this offense is going to be in full effect still, dominating. I mean, you still got Hurts with the same supporting cast around them in terms of the line and the wide receivers. Obviously, they lost Becton. That hurts, but I think it's very replaceable. On the defensive side of the ball, now that's where the key losses come in on that defensive line. But as Howie does, it seems like he really stocked up again throughout the draft, had some good picks. So I have no doubt in my mind this team's going to go 13-4. I think Hurts is going to have a bigger year. I think Barkley may take a step back because I think they realize we don't need to kill this guy. Like, I don't think he's going to put up the huge numbers he did last year. He'll still be one of the top running backs, but I think they'll definitely try to ease his workload, knowing, hey, we are primed to be a playoff team with a high seed or low seed, whatever you want to, however you want to call it. But
high seed is like the one, right?
Yeah, so they're primed to be in a good spot. So I would think they're going to try to take some off of Barkley's plate. I think we'll see a little more Will Shipley this year. But yeah, I mean, let's go. Let's go back-to-back, Eagles. What do you say, huh? I think you can do it. I think you can do it. I'm rooting for it. I'd be cool with it. Hurts really solidifying himself as the number 2 quarterback in the NFL. Maybe getting into that number 1 conversation.
Oh, my goodness. We're not going to turn this into a quarterback rankings pod, but we could dive into it in a little bit after I set the stage a little bit and kind of give my take on the Eagles for 2025. So their win total's at 11.5, which seems right. Yeah. Some key adds, Kenyon Green to the offensive line, Azeez Ojulari from the Giants. For some reason, the Eagles keep signing Giants players. Josh Uche, Adoree Jackson, another one of those Giants that came over to the Eagles. A.J. Dillon, I don't know what he's got left. Obviously the neck injury. So like you said, I'd probably anticipate more Will Shipley than A.J. Dillon in the backfield this year. And then their first round pick, Jahad Campbell, kind of fell to him. It was getting mocked in the low teens, and just fell to the Eagles at 31. So it usually happens, right? Some losses. Yeah. You mentioned it, Reagan. A lot of big losses, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Milton Williams got a bag to go to the Patriots. Josh Sweat got a bag to go to the Cardinals. Mekhi Becton goes to the Chargers. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, they traded him to Houston. Brandon Graham, leader of this defense, retires. Darius Slay, gone, now in Baltimore. Another DB, Isaiah Rodgers. And Bryce Huff, although Bryce Huff did not work out in Eagles green.
No.
So
he did not.
I also have the Eagles winning the NFC East. I have them going 11-6, though.
Hater.
And it's more so question marks on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you can't say enough good things about this offense. When you sit in an offense and you say, of their 4 core position groups, quarterback, receivers, running backs, and offensive line, if the quarterback's the worst of the group, but I would put him in that 5 to 7 range, that just goes to show how dominant this offense is. They have probably the best offensive line in football at this point. Maialata and Johnson only allowed 3 sacks in over 2,200 snaps combined last season. Just a ridiculous duo. I think Lane Johnson's a first ballot Hall of Famer. One of the best left tackles in the league.
Oh, I mean, I don't think that's a doubt at all. And also, dude, just like the fact that they kept Vic Fangio, we saw how quickly he turned around that defense.
Whoa, I'm talking offensive line play, and you want to talk about Vic Fangio?
No, I'm just adding into big parts of, what is a huge success for why it worked out last year.
Yes, yeah. We'll get into defense. Hey, offensively, they did lose Kellen Moore. Their OC is now the head coach in New Orleans. I don't know. I mean, on one hand, it's a tough loss because they won the Super Bowl with them. But on the other hand, this is nothing new for Jaylen Hurts. It's going to be a 6th year in a row with a new offensive coordinator.
That's what makes him so freaking good, dude.
Dude, he has 12 play callers in 10 seasons dating back to his college days. So for him, it's like, I don't think it's going to affect Jaylen Hurts that much. But, it could hurt the team as a whole. Obviously.
I mean, if the new OC is smart, what's his name? Pimento? Am I saying it right? No. Patullo. Sorry, Patullo.
Yeah.
If he's smart, he's just going to tailor it around the run game. I mean, you saw when Moore, historically knowing as a pass-first offensive coordinator, what we saw, in Dallas with Dak and then with the Chargers, what he tried to do with Herbert. He tried to do that with Hurts early on, and then all of a sudden it switched where his pass attempts were like 25 or less a game, and it was just run the ball down your throats and let him use his legs and get out of the pocket, how much better they were. So if they just stick to that same system, I think it'll work out well. I think that's always the key with Hurts. Don't let him throw the ball over 30 times a game because he's never going to be, the Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, like 40 to 50 passing attempts a game. That's not him.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, they were the best run team in the league last year. Maybe Baltimore might have a few more yards than him, but, Barkley being the 9th running back to run for over 2,000 yards. He had 22, 83 total yards, 15 touchdowns. And when you consider how many touchdowns Jaylen Hurts took away with the tush push, that's very impressive. I will say they did play the easiest schedule of run defenses last year. So not that I don't think the Eagles are going to run all over a bunch of teams, but it will be a little bit more difficult this year. I kind of agree with you. I don't think Barkley's going to go for 2K again, but
I don't think you need him to.
Yeah, I don't think you need him to either. But if he's healthy, I think he's certainly going to be top 3 rushing in the league. No doubt.
Probably, yeah. I just think he'll be more like 1,500 this year because they're just. I would be shocked. I would honestly expect them to have like 50 less carries this year, just because they know they're going to be primed for the playoffs, and you don't want to run them into the ground. They gave him that big extension, so I think that definitely is going to factor in to try to get more out of his career. And it's like, hey, like why run this guy into the ground? We know he can go out and get the record, but if we need him healthy for the playoffs.
And he also played 19 games last year, the most in his career too. So, and I think he had over 350-ish carries. So you do want to lighten that workload a little bit and keep him fresh for the postseason, because as long as Jaylen Hurts is healthy, this team, even if he gets hurt,
he probably had close to 3,000 yards altogether, including the playoffs and receiving yards.
Because the regular season he had nearly 2,300, and I think in the postseason he probably had close to 700 total yards. Like, he had some monster games. So yeah, for sure. Going back to Jaylen Hurts a little bit, he has 33 tush-push touchdowns in his career, which is insane. That accounts for 60% of his rushing scores. So for fantasy purposes, massive that the tush-push was not banned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the tush-push. I don't understand why they want to ban it so bad. And it's funny that some of the teams that kept it just happen to have like mobile quarterbacks like that, or were part of that like coaching tree that wanted to keep it. But
yeah,
I think it's so dumb to ban it. Like, every team can do it.
Yeah, and I saw that the tush-push success rate, it's very similar to what a standard QB sneak is, but just with the tush, like having the tush-push, the Eagles are more aggressive than a lot of teams, and it shows that being aggressive oftentimes pays off, and the Eagles just converted at such a high rate. So,
dude, the Bills were cheesing it, and they got fucked in the playoffs. They got stopped on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a very big 4th down stop.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you brought up, you think Jaylen Hurts is the second best quarterback in football. I mean, obviously he's insanely productive. He does struggle when he gets pressured, his processing and time to throw are kind of weaknesses in his game. He does scramble and take a sack on 18% of his dropbacks when he is pressured, which is like in that Caleb Williams territory, which is not ideal. But I mean, you're kind of nitpicking with Hurts there. Like he's a beast. When you consider that in AJ, he's a winner. He's a total winner. He's a total guy you want in your locker room. I mean, AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith both missed 4 games last year. But when you look on like a per game basis, they were both awesome. Like Brown was elite. DeVonta Smith was very damn good. I mean, Brown still went for over 1,000 yards despite having his lowest target since his rookie year and his fewest catches since 2021 by missing 4 games. Because when they did get the ball, the passing game was good. I definitely think the passing game will have to be better in 2025 if they're going to repeat.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. But it's you just saw it last year. Like, they don't need it to be their driving factor. But when you have weapons like that, you would like to see it be more evident. But, hey, they keep winning.
Oh, yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely. And then, going to the defense, like you said, man, Vic Fangio, what a blessing it is for the Eagles to have him back this year after how he flipped the script. Because you remember 2023, the secondary was burnt toast and they collapsed and the defense was a huge problem. Fangio comes in, they were elite like across the board.
Mm-hmm.
They were the 6th best run defense in terms of yards per carry. They allowed the 2nd least rushing touchdowns with 5. So just like that, run defense elite. Secondary, of course, was a problem, but they held opponents to the lowest amount of passing yards in 2024. Now, part of that is adding Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, who both finished top 4 in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. So that's awesome. But, going back to the front, Jalen Carter is already just a stud, 13 run stuffs, 4.5 sacks, Pro Bowler. Jordan Davis hasn't fully lived up to the first-round draft status, but he's still good in the run game. They were 7th in pressure rate. They had 41 sacks. It's just, for me, looking at this defense heading to 2025, it's a lot of young players. Like Nolan Smith, you have to take a big jump in 2025 for me. Jordan Davis, you got to take a big jump, not necessarily as a pass rusher, but being on the field more and being more dominant in the run game. Not concerned about Jalen Carter. He already plays 84% of snaps. He's a dog.
I mean, I think he's a guy that could go out and win a DPOY this year.
I mean, he has the potential to. He has the talent. Like he will be an all-pro very shortly. It is coming. So I don't think you're crazy for that take at all.
No, I definitely think he could flirt around with it, and I think Mitchell could too if he continues to build off of it because he had a hell of a rookie season. Yeah, we saw last year like it's possible. Surtain won it, so I was always kind of thinking like it feels like it'll never be somebody that's not an edge rusher, but. Sure enough, last year Surtain did it, so it's definitely a possibility.
It is, and he's a stud. Just kind of going back to
something about those corners from what's that conference? Well, I guess Cincinnati.
The MAC.
The MAC, yeah. I guess Cincinnati's not in the MAC, but something about those Ohio corners.
Yeah, something about those Ohio corners, man. But just to go back to Fangio, they went from the 31st best red zone defense in 2023 to the 5th best in 2024. They were bottom 3 in so many metrics in 2023 to then go to top 3. Passing defense, bottom of the barrel to top of the league. And it's a change in scheme. It's an infusion of talent. It's a believing in a coach who's done it for so long. So they should be so lucky they have him. But at the end of the day, still a young defense. I expect they won't be as dominant this year. I expect the run game to regress. They have the 4th most difficult schedule compared to the 4th easiest last year. Biggest change year over year. Still 11 wins for the Eagles in my mind.
All right. You're not too big of a hater. And also like Zach Bond too, getting him, resurging that career. I mean, turning him into an all-pro, and then obviously he got paid, but that was huge for both facets, stopping the run and also in the passing game. He was one of the just a stud. I mean, he was an all-pro. I mean,
absolute freak. And he never showed anything like that earlier in his career. And when it became to the offseason, the Eagles knew they were going to lose some guys. They couldn't pay top of the market to keep some of the pass rushers, but linebacker was a problem for this team for so many years, and they finally got it right. So I agree with them, Bond being the guy to bring back from the bunch.
Yeah, I think after that Bucs playoff game when they lost 2 years ago, that was like, yeah, we're paying this man.
Yep, we got to pay someone. We need some help. All right, Reagan, who is your MVP for the Eagles in 2025?
Hurts. Let's be real here. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that because last year was
Barkley.
Saquon,
I
but
mean, you could say
yeah,
Barkley.
I'm gonna say Hurts though. I think this team goes as far as he goes. I don't think, if he goes down, I don't think this team can still function without him. Where, if they lose Barkley, they're still going to be a playoff team. I think if they lose Hurts, it's they might not even make the playoffs.
Yeah, I went a completely different route here. Just me thinking they're going to go passing game. I went A.J. Brown. A.J.
Okay.
Brown can be a top 3 receiver in football if he gets that volume. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He could score from anywhere. He's a monster in contested catch situations. He's an awesome route runner. They don't need him to be their Jamar Chase, their Justin Jefferson, but he can be. And I think there's going to be a lot more put on his shoulders in 2025 compared to 2024. We already highlighted how his target share and receptions were way down for his career, but the yardage and output was still there. So if they keep that up and he keeps having, if he can average 15, 16, 18 yards per catch and go for 1,500 yards, I think he could be, I think he'd have more yards than Barkley for this offense.
Fair.
Who's your X factor?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of already talked about it a little bit, but it's Jalen Carter. It's just him getting to that next level, like the all-pro, elite, top-tier interior defensive lineman, which I think he could totally be. And with all the losses they've had this offseason, they need him to step up and become a staple. I mean, he already is a staple, but they need him to step up and become the leader on that defensive line and just wreak havoc. I mean, because he's going to be the guy that offensive lines are targeting. He's going to be taking on all the double teams and, triple teams at times. So even if he's not putting up the numbers, like he's got to open up stuff for the other guys.
Yeah, I went a different route, but sticking with a similar sentiment, a Georgia player on the defensive line. My X factor is Nolan Smith. When you got to step in and pick up the slack from Josh Sweat, and a much lesser degree, Bryce Huff, but you're also losing Brandon Graham. The opportunity's there. Like, you could be the top presence off the edge for this team. You were picked in the first round for a reason. And honestly, it was another one of those where I can't believe he fell to where he was and the Eagles got the chance to get him, given his tape at Georgia. Now, he's a little one-dimensional, more of a pass rusher right now, not great in the run game. Would love to see him bulk up. He's got the athleticism. He's got the juice. He's got the burst. He could be a double-digit sack guy on this Phillies D-line if he lives up to his draft status.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that without the off-the-field stuff, this is a first overall pick.
Yes. No, yeah, absolutely. Who is your rookie of the year for the Eagles? Tough.
So
I mean, the draft class, they didn't have a ton of picks here, Reagan. Not a ton of immediate.
I'm going with Ty Robinson, the edge rusher out of Nebraska. I actually remember Chad Singleton on last year talking about him a little bit, but he was a huge impact at Nebraska. I mean, he's a little bit undersized, or a little bit, like, he's got a weird build to him for an edge rusher, but 6'5", 288. Not undersized, but he's kind of like in the middle where he's not fast enough to be like one of those elite edge rushers, but he's also not big enough to clog the hole. So he's kind of got a good blend of both. But I think he could have a big impact. And, we talked about all the losses, and this is where the Eagles have made their bread and butter. These day 2, day 3 edge rushers that kind of fall to them where, they become rotational guys that can put up some big numbers or big impact plays in their limited time. So I think he could have a big impact on that line and, be forced into a bigger role early on.
Yeah, I think he played on the interior in college, the Big Ten, but his 9.5% pressure rate was third best in the Big Ten. So, definitely a good sleeper pick from you. I went with the easy one, Jahad Campbell, the first-round pick. I think, because Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond are going to take your 2 linebacker spots initially. Maybe Jahad Campbell rotates in, and I don't think Dean's going to be ready for the start of the season, so he's going to play there. But when Dean gets back, Jahad Campbell can be used on the edge as well. He had a 21% pressure rate last year. So he's a freak athlete. And that was kind of the thing where he was getting shot up draft boards is, all right, he's not necessarily in Jalen Walker's level as an edge rusher, but he can do both just like Jalen Walker. So I went with Jahad Campbell. I think he have a big impact for this defense who needs some young bucks to step up.
For sure. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they use Campbell.
And I'm sure your depoy is Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
So he's mine as well. I mean, he's just a freak. He's probably already up in that top 5 interior defensive lineman territory.
Yeah. He definitely could be flirting with that number 1 spot at the end of the season.
I wouldn't hate a Quinyon Mitchell call either for depoy. Just if he's just a total lockdown dude, like we've seen some of these young corners in recent memory, it could be a game changer for this defense.
For sure.
All right, that wraps up our Philadelphia.
You're not gonna give me who's your fantasy sleeper? Is there any
Oh, I always
sleepers here?
forget about the fantasy
Come on.
sleeper. I
Are
had
you
to
gonna
give
give
my
the
guy Dallas Goedert a shout out. He helped lead me to a title last year. And, I know he was hurt last year for a lot of the season, but in the playoffs, he made some big, big plays. He can score from 40 yards out. Good athlete. I know he came back on a reworked contract, but he's really the one that you can get for a discount in this offense. That should be very high powered.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I don't know if there's not a ton of sleepers here because they really don't utilize the wide receiver 3 here. It's kind of just two wide receivers that are relevant. But
Yeah.
I would be, in underdog drafts, I would be throwing because I'm not worried about AJ Dillon. I know they brought him in, but I think Shipley will be the number 2 back here. I don't think AJ Dillon's anything to worry about. So if you are in underdog leagues, I would be throwing Shipley with the last pick. Just throw him on there. Maybe even if you're in a weekly winners type league, because I think there are going to be weeks where they're up big and he maybe gets a garbage time touchdown, or they're trying to take back Saquon's load. And I think there's some weeks that you could be looking at 10 touches at least. Definitely a must roster handcuff, whether you have Saquon or, just looking at a guy that could take a 3-down roll if Saquon was to sit out.
Yeah, I think he's very clearly the number 1 handcuff in football this year, because if Barkley goes down, it's
Garendo.
You think Garendo? I think
yeah.
Just because
Garendo? Yes, just because
we saw it from Garendo.
We know for a
we
fact
haven't seen it from Shipley.
Well, not even that. We know for a fact that Shanahan's going to just do a one-back approach. We don't know if Sirianni would give both guys, because they did bring in Dillon. Would it be both of them? I would think it would be Shipley would get the first crack, but definitely, Shipley's worth grabbing.
Yeah, just being in that offense, behind that offensive line, if Shipley's going to get 15 to 20 touches towards the end of the season, if Barkley goes down, I mean, that could be a league winner right there. So good call out. And I'd like the no call on wide receiver 3, even though Jahan Dotson, former first-round pick, barely involved last year. Was on the field quite a bit, barely got the ball. When they throw it, it's not going to him.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. They don't utilize a third wide receiver here.
All right, everyone, that wraps up our Philadelphia Eagles 2025 season in review. Please drop a like, drop a comment, let us know. Will the Eagles repeat in 2025? I pray to God they don't.
Yeah, where do you rank Jalen Hurts too? I'm curious what people have him. What number quarterback? He's 2 for me, but I'm curious what the rest of you have him at. But thanks for tuning in.